Well, hello everybody, and welcome to Act 3, our April edition. We are so delighted to be with you today. We've got so much great stuff to share with you on this episode. Lots of amazing guests. But because that we film in the middle of the month and not at the beginning of the month when we would have celebrated Easter, we do want to wish you and your families the very best of the season. And while we're at it, why don't we tell some of our guests, our viewers, pardon me, a little bit about some of the other things that are happening. Oh, everybody, this is Abigail. Abigail, what are some of the cool things that are happening in April?
Well, there's Blueberry Pie Day and Garlic Day.
Blueberry Pie Day and Garlic Day together on the same day? I hope not. Oh, not. What else is there?
There's also Picnic Day, Bugs Bunny Day.
Bugs Bunny Day? Oh my gosh, I love Bugs Bunny Day. And since this is the year of the rabbit, why not have a little bit of bunny as well as Easter on top of it? Yeah, I mean, it's a natural, right?
3 bunny things.
3 bunny things. There's one more day that's super special. What day is that?
Earth Day.
Earth Day, when we look after the planet while we're looking after each other. Very, very important during the month of April. So while we enjoy and celebrate these wonderful days, there's a couple of other things I want to celebrate. Number 1, 2 of our hosts celebrated birthdays this year. So I want to announce that Teresa Osman and Dean Fellner from our team celebrated their birthdays. And so Act 3 gang wants to wish you all a very happy birthday if you also celebrated in April. And I also wanted to tell people that we have a very fabulous and familiar face on our team from many of the other shows that Shaw Spotlight produces. Our guest host today is Matt Carter, and we are delighted to have him on board today. So I think that we have a pretty action-packed show, celebrations all around. I'm thirsty. I think we need to go get some water. Why don't you grab yourself a beverage and enjoy the show?
I'm sitting on the edge of love and happiness. Never experienced such a moment as this. So if you got that good feeling in your body and you wanna bring this moment to life, come with me, we'll hit the town. Let's go right now and live the life. I just wanna shine like the sky up like a sunset, living with no regrets. I just wanna shine.
Moving on for our humor section. Thanks, Kathy, for this. Welcome. Very happy to be here chatting about the Vancouver Island Short Film Festival. A wonderful film fest going on now for its 18th year. So very happy to be here in the studio speaking with Zoe Heath, who's the festival director, and Johnny Blakeborough, who's the president and co-founder of the festival. Zoe, Johnny, thanks so much for joining us here today.
Thanks for having us, Matt.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, well, let's get right into it here. Johnny, I'm going to talk to you first. Again, festival director, and you mentioned 18th year, so basically the turn of the century is when you got this festival started. So take us back to what was happening back then and why you got this festival going.
Oh, well, back in 2006, a bunch of my friends and I were working on different festivals around town, but they were a mix of long and short films. And we were really interested in the democratic power of a short film as opposed to how hard it is to make a feature-length film. And so we really wanted to create a showcase for filmmakers to show short-form films that could do exciting, different, interesting things and be really diverse in our programming. And so we decided to make something that was just about that. And so we wanted it to be about the area, so it was the Vancouver Island, and just short films, so Short Film Festival. And we played it at the Caprice Theatre in 2006, and it sold out, and we realized that we had to keep on doing it. And so I did that for 10 years, and then I stepped back for a while, and now I'm the president of the society, and I've got Zoe to run the show for me.
I'm going to talk to Zoe here in a second, but just for quick clarification for viewers. So short film, does that mean less than 15 minutes, less than 10 minutes? How does that work?
We started off with 7 minutes as our length, but we've gone up a bit every couple of years. We're at 15, and I think we're going to stay there. 15 seems to be a good amount, so you get a really good diverse program with lots of different types of shows, and you can still tell a really interesting story in 15 minutes. But not all our films are exactly 15. There's many that are shorter.
All right, well, you've talked about, I mentioned the diverse lineup of films. So to get into what's happening this year at the festival, Zoe, I'll turn it over to you. So the first stop, before we get into the films, your first year as festival director, but you've also been involved with the festival before. Tell us a little bit about your background with the fest.
Yes, so for the last 2 years I was on the selection committee, which is the group of people who come together to watch every single submission, rate it, and then come together and decide what the program lineup's going to be. So it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun.
Because it's, I mean, how many people or how many films are submitted every year? 100?
Well, this year it was 167. So.
And
we had to get that down to 20 films.
So yeah, a lot of work from all the committees to bring that final together. Yeah, you mentioned Johnny was mentioning a diversity of the films here. So let's speak about that. So, are there different genres, different styles of filmmaking? What can people expect to see when they come to the festival this year?
This lineup is so diverse. There's films that are less than a minute. There's films that are the full 15 minutes. We have filmmakers from all over the world: Japan, Australia. We have a lot from BC, but we have a lot of diverse voices in that, both in front of the camera and behind the camera, which I think is really important. It's actually people speaking their own stories. Yeah, it's an incredibly varied medium. Like, we have some paper craft films, we have claymation, we have documentaries, and we have dramas and comedies. So it's kind of diverse across the board.
And also we'll expand that to the diversity of the folks actually involved with the committees and the festival. I know a lot of folks may know, I know this isn't Hollywood, your general Hollywood look can be, there's a lot of older white men sort of making the decisions. It's called like it is. Not the case with this festival here, is it?
No. Myself and Greg, who is our submission coordinator, really worked hard to find both a selection committee and a judging committee of diverse voices, whether that is different people within the arts community or different people with different intersecting identities. We tried really hard not to make it just a bunch of old white men.
Well, folks who have been to the festival before, again, will already know about, again, the diversity. You mentioned the styles, the genres. Great to see that's getting expanded through all the different voices and views. Johnny, I'll turn it back to you for a quick sec here as we're getting close to wrap up. I guess I should probably ask, when people come to this festival, what do you want them walking out of the festival feeling?
Well, we really want to create a place where good stories are told and that the audience members get a really engaging viewing experience, but also get to interact with filmmakers. And so that's been a big thing that we want those conversations to happen. We have great filmmaker Q&As set up for the show. We also, this is I believe the festival we've had the most filmmakers come to of any festival we've ever had before. It's going to be about 75%, I think, of the filmmakers are going to be coming to the festival this year. So we're really excited about that. Also, something that happened during COVID that we really liked was being able to reach people outside of our community or those people in our community that can't make it to a festival because of lots of reasons. And accessibility became really an interesting thing that we found that we had because of necessity, and we've decided to keep that this year. So it's a hybrid show for the first year ever. It's going to be in person at the Malaspina Theatre, which we're super excited about, on April 21st and 22nd, but at the same time you can tune in and watch it online anywhere in the world and hopefully get a really great experience as well.
All right, well, thank you both so much for joining us here on Act 3, the legendary sequel to Act 1 and Act 2, of course. And again, if people want more information on the festival, or if you'd like to buy tickets, as Johnny mentioned, either online or in person, check out visff.com. And you can also check out the festival trailer on the website and on the VISFF social media channels there as well. All right, thanks again, both of you, for joining. It's time now to move on to our Wellness Minute with Teresa Austin.
Thanks, Matt. So great to have you here on Act 3. I am here now with Amber Rose with Rose Nutrition. Amber is an holistic nutritionist, and she also does sport health, which is just so exciting. Thank you so much, Amber, for being with us here today.
Thank you for having me.
It's springtime.
Sure is.
Springtime is a time of renewal, right?
Mm-hmm. It's a great time to get started as well on a lot of different things. The weather is getting better, the sun's coming out, and it's a lot easier to actually get out for walks instead of finding ways to get around all the snow and the rain and the ice and all the hazardous things that come with the winter.
Exactly, exactly. And in the springtime, people really change what they eat, or maybe they should be changing what they eat if they're not. We're going from heavier soups and stews to more salads and fresh ingredients.
This is a great time and it's really exciting, especially with the farmers market starting in Mother's Day. That's usually when the Cedar Farmers Market starts opening up, and it's really exciting to see what fresh fruits and veggies are coming into season. It's also a great time to review your habits around your eating, see what's in your fridge that you can get cleaned out, do a little bit of spring cleaning of your kitchen, see what's being used, see what's not, and see if they're helping you to proceed towards your goals or not. And if they're not, get rid of them and bring in new things that can help you.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. Get rid of the old, be it old clothes that no longer serve you or mindsets that no longer serve you.
Absolutely. There's a lot of things, especially with the health, that aren't just the food on your plate, but it's the things that you're stressing about, that your activities levels are impacting your activity levels. And then how do you address those, especially with the coming of spring? It's a great time to spring clean those limiting beliefs, get rid of those habits that are not helping you but hindering you, and getting rid of those and bringing in the new things that can actually help you reach and achieve your health goals.
I get a lot of questions from people about bad foods. And I know you say there's no such thing as a bad food.
No, I don't like adding morality to any sort of foods. There's some foods, of course, that are less healthy that should be eaten in moderation, but even the healthy foods should be eaten in a way that you enjoy and in moderation, where you can actually, you're not just living off kale salads. You can have a nice kale salad and dessert and still live a healthy lifestyle.
And this time of year too, to enhance salads, there's lots of things that you can add to make it more palatable if you're not really a salad person.
Oh, absolutely. There's asparagus is coming into season pretty soon, so having some roasted asparagus, that's amazing. Leafy greens should be coming up pretty quickly as well, and having a whole bunch of different dressings. A lot of food is also coming into season from international. Oranges are coming into season. There's different oranges and citruses that are great in salads.
One thing that I know you are a proponent of is saying that health is more than just a meal plan. So what else do you suggest that we adopt or adapt to now that spring is in the air?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great time to keep an eye on your sleeping habits, especially with the time change that happened not that long ago. It can kind of mess up our sleep rhythms and our circadian rhythms. So making sure that you're still getting your 7 to 9 hours of sleep every night, seeing what habits are going to help you maintain that sleep schedule, see what habits can be added or taken away that can help reduce stress. What's your activity habits? So there's so much more than just the food on your plate. It's all the things that give you energy and make you more confident in making those diet decisions and being more active and fulfilled outside of just the kitchen.
The kitchen. Well, thank you, Amber, very much for being with us today. I'm going to go forth into spring with a whole new mindset and eating plan. I am now going to throw it over to Dean, who is talking about the Red Heart Breakfast.
Thank you so much, Teresa. My name is Dean Thellner, and today my guest is Sydney Creighton, who is the Medical Office Administrator for AVI Community Health Center. Hi, Sydney.
Hi, Dean.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
I'm very happy to be here.
So tell me, what's your position at AVI?
It sounds a little clerical, medical office administrator, but I like to call myself the hub of the clinic. Yeah. I'm the first voice you hear on the phone, and usually the face first that clients see when they come through the door.
Well, we all know that AVI is an incredible asset for our community. You service so many people that are at risk or homeless or that are struggling or also fall under a certain criteria that need some social or community services, right? I wanted to talk to you today about at-risk women in our community, right? It's 51% of our community is female that's on the streets, and I just feel that we need to address that. So can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes, unfortunately, there's a higher percentage of women on the streets. A lot of the times women find themselves in a societal or personal position that's pushing them towards homelessness. And as it stands, there aren't a lot of outreach services to help these women find a foundation to start their lives over, basically.
Well, absolutely, and I think we all can agree that homelessness is a result of trauma, and imagine how difficult it is to be on the street, to be a woman on the street, and to have come from a traumatic situation and then therefore be in another traumatic situation. We're very grateful to have AVI to be able to support these women in our community. I understand there's a great fundraiser coming. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, the Red Heart Breakfast. It's a fundraiser. It's free to come to the breakfast. There is going to be the option to continue donating to basically help raise funds to start outreach programs for women experiencing homelessness. AVI itself currently doesn't have too many programs for women specifically that are experiencing homelessness. And with this fundraising, with this breakfast, we're hoping to expand those doors, just keep them wide open and just really kind of keep our program going to help women, to encourage them to find safety, to find shelter, to find community and compassion and amongst a traumatic experience, like you said, Dean.
Yeah, that's great. I understand that it's the Shine Foundation for Artistic Expression that is organizing this breakfast. So just to be clear, so you can go on the Together We Shine .ca website and you can register for a free breakfast. So it doesn't cost anything to go to this event?
It doesn't cost anything to go to the event. You can come, you can hear some speakers, you can meet some people, you can really understand this issue that's needing to be brought light to.
It's fantastic. I also understand that TD Bank is the corporate sponsor for this event, so therefore we know that the costs are covered. So theoretically, correct me if I'm wrong, but every cent that we will raise that day will go directly to the services that AVI will therefore be able to move forward to help at-risk women.
Yes, and we're very happy to have TD being the sponsor. We're very excited to have all of the program funding to really just kind of get a ground start on this idea of supporting homeless women, which for a long time has been living in the shadows of outreach programming.
Yes, I understand that the Shine Foundation will be also hosting this event in Victoria, which we'll talk about later when we get the date, and also in North and Courtenay. But I think this is an incredible initiative, and I think that it's something that we should focus on as a community. You know, maybe you could highlight to the audience today a little bit about what are some of the struggles that women on the street go through.
I think that the basis when it comes for women is shelter and safety. A lot of shelters, homeless shelters, outreach shelters are only 30% beds for women, 70% for men. So a lot of women get left out on the streets at night, which is obviously a very unsafe thing anyway, but especially being in a minority group, being a woman, there's not a lot of community support for them. There's not a lot of shelter support for them, and finding housing in shelters for any homeless person, women especially, gives them a basis, a foundation of structure and the ability to start putting their lives back together on this beautiful journey that they're going to be able to start with this programming, with this funding.
That's amazing. It does seem a little unjust, though, that 51% of the population is female, yet the services are catering to men. So hopefully this event will be able to help turn that trajectory around and support women, right?
Yeah.
So again, you can go onto the TogetherWeShine.ca website. You can push the events. You can register for free. You're going to get a great breakfast. You're going to listen to speakers. Maybe someone from AVI will be speaking. I think maybe a minister or some health people will be speaking, and then you'll have an opportunity to make a donation. Yes?
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's really exciting. We're really looking forward to this event, obviously. And if you can't go to the event, please know that you can go onto the TogetherWeShine.ca. There is a donation button there, and if you can't go, please reach out and make a donation to help women in our community.
Yes, I'm very excited.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for coming, Sydney. I really appreciate it. We'll look forward to the Red Heart Breakfast on May 10th at the Vancouver Island Conference Centre. All right, Kathy, back to you.
Oh my gosh, what an incredible interview that was. Thanks, Dean. Thanks, AVI, for all that you're doing within our community. My gosh, we really, really appreciate it. And I know that the women on the street are really going to benefit from this fantastic fundraiser. Next up, though, we have something very fabulous. We have Gypsy Hart is our next guest. I'm so delighted to be with you today, Gypsy.
So excited too. This is awesome.
You know, I love anything to do with mystic and wellness and transformation. And I just found out that you have recently been certified as a transformational coach. Could you tell us a little about that?
You know, I just really feel like, especially with everything that's been going on the last 3 years, that people really need me to hold space a little bit more for them. And it's really about transformation. People are changing careers, relationships, all sorts of things. So it's really important to kind of central in and allow people to go, hey, you know what? I'm ready for, you know, this whole revamp.
I think it's one of the most important things that we do for ourselves. It's a great gift to take personal inventory and kind of figure out where we are. But people get stuck, right? And so how do we get past getting stuck?
Well, there's so many different areas that people are maybe needing to focus on. So maybe it's you know, mental coaching, you know, health coaching, maybe it's career, relationships, diet and fitness. So a combination. There's like as a life coach, I get to like play with all those areas and help people transform themselves, right? So
I know for the last few years you've put on this spectacular event, but really you've been doing the Wellness Spirit Fair for a number of years. Talk to us a little bit about what that is.
I love it because it really kind of centers on all our community and bringing it together. So it is a free event. It'll be on May the 13th, which is the Mother's Day weekend, the Saturday at the Cavalotti Lodge. So I'm excited to host it and hold space for all the wonderful exhibitors that'll be there. So there'll also be lectures as well. But we're focusing on the health and wellness as well as the metaphysical. So there's going to be all sorts of great things that people can come and access.
I think for our audience who may not necessarily have the accessibility to a transformational kind of life coach, or they may not have, you know, they might not know where to begin when it comes to that. Let's say that someone called you or they went to your website and found out about what you're doing. What could they expect at first call? What do you think would happen? Or like, what would happen for people to call?
They can definitely set up basically just a consultation with me so that we can really target on what's most important in their life, where are the goals that they want to set, what they want to change in their life as well. Because sometimes it can be a long list, and so we can kind of narrow it down to what they really want to work on, that's something that's attainable, right? So once we sit down and have a conversation that way, then we can kind of, you know, navigate to where they really want to be, and not just like kind of go, yeah, I want to do it all, and then end up kind of, you know, looking at it as, oh, I couldn't do it all, you know, like it just didn't happen, and then feeling disappointed. So we definitely, you know, work together as finding the, you know, the way to move through their life.
And small steps, right?
Small
steps, miles are made.
Yes,
no
exactly. I
question
try to
about
focus on like 3 areas that, you know, that's attainable for them, right? It's like the power of 3.
Well, it's the power of 3, but what is also very powerful, and I'm going to go back to this just for a second because I want to make sure that people attend it. It is the Mother's Day weekend, which you talked about, self-care and all that groovy stuff.
Absolutely.
But as we close out today, I also want to mention Haven Society.
Well, it's our benefactor, and each year when I run these events, and I've been running it since 2018, we pick different benefactors, and this year it's the Haven Society, and I think it's really important that, you know, as a community we come together and recognize a lot of these different charities that we can, and they will be there as well, so then they will educate the public and also take donations, and it's also on the website as well, so if you want to, you know, add a donation to it, if you can't attend, then, you know, feel free to do that as well too.
You know, I absolutely love all the great stuff that we share on this show, but my favorite part's coming up, I have to tell you, because we're going to visit with Raven Tales. Kevin and Dan Elliott are going to have a conversation.
Thank you very much, Kathy. I am going to be having a great conversation today, and thank you for joining me. I'm your host, Kevin Wagner, and I'm joined by another host, a familiar face here at Act3 Media, Mr. Daniel Elliott. Dan, thanks for joining us.
Hey, yeah, it's cool to be here actually on this part of the seats.
Sure
and
enough.
I love being part of this whole Raven's Tale at Act 3. It's been a wonderful piece for me to be part of.
It is a great piece, and you're on the other side of the table here today. You're talking about something a little bit different, but still very much related to what you do here at the show. Why don't I just let you tell the story?
Well, I was asked to speak a little bit about a book that I wrote last summer called Truth, Art, and Reconciliation, which was based on a body of work I painted in 2019 to 2022, and it was by the same title, Truth, Art, and Reconciliation. It was kind of born out of a frustration piece for me working in the helping field and the education system as a counselor, and my problem was that I just felt like I couldn't find the words, and I was like, wait a minute, I'm an artist, and I've been an artist my whole life, and I still have some drawings from when I was 2 years old.
Oh, wow.
It was in a book, a child's book, but anyway, I kept it. That's pretty funny. But I was painting all these kind of different genres in watercolor and oils, and out of this whole thing, I began to, I went frustrated about getting information out there and speaking to different leaders about Aboriginal or Indigenous issues. Mm-hmm. And I can paint. So I painted this body of work. And let me tell you, it took most of like everything I had plus. Because some days I'm painting till 3 o'clock in the morning. And then I go to work at 7 or 8. And it's like, well, there's not much sleep there.
Sure enough.
But I was doing like one of these big pictures a month. And it was about what was beautiful about our culture, what was the interruption, and then how can we conciliate? How can we come together in a good way? So there's, in the pain, there's hope. It's a whole body of work in watercolors.
I understand you had a successful art show that's come and gone just recently, but like you're saying, it's culminated in this book that we can look forward to seeing.
Yeah.
There was also a documentary associated with this that I believe you worked on as well.
Yeah, it was just like out of that, we finished December 15th, a production from the summer, and it's a 37-minute documentary by the same title. So I have this book and then the art show and the documentary. I was like, holy moly. A friend of mine from Victoria, we joined forces, Gamut Productions, and David and I, we built this documentary. And 37 minutes doesn't sound like a long movie or a documentary, but a whole lot. It was amazingly in the involvement in putting it together, and I get what happens here.
Oh, sure enough. I imagine it's like when you talk about painting into the wee hours of the morning and then going to work. Now here you are, you're making a documentary, and I'm sure it's eating up every spare moment of your life, and then still there's life to have as well at the same time. But it's this artistic outlet that's served you, and it sounds like you're kind of trying to share that ability to give a voice to others as well.
Yeah, exactly. That came out in the book. I even had, just a couple weeks ago, I had an associate professor, a editor for a company that was looked over the doc, and she said, oh my God, I'm going to start painting again. And so she said, all this stuff that's happening post-COVID, and she said that I didn't realize, my art was medicine for me. So that's what really is coming out of the book, is that art is a vehicle for change and for medicine for ourselves, for me.
No, absolutely. It can be a very personal thing, but then you can share it with others. There's that aspect to it as well. You had shared with me on, very briefly in the book, because I've had a chance to only have a glance at it. There's these tragic stories, the tragic realities, but you're sharing them through these beautiful portraits or this beautiful expression. And it's just this unique kind of way of sharing tragedy through the beauty of art.
Yeah, and for me, that was like, there were some parts missing when I seen residential school issues and a lot black and white pictures, and we have a fairly limited scope of what we see around that. And so I brought all that stuff to life because my grandmother went to Cooper Island. I'm very deeply affected by many relatives who've been affected through residential school. So it was a way to create a voice through art, because art is a universal language. It speaks, and even if you're not, not saying anything, people can get it. And I'll leave you with this around the art show. There was a 70-year-old girl that came with her mom to see the show, and I'm thinking, some of the stuff is pretty heavy duty. Mm-hmm. And then her mom said, hey, what was Dan's artwork like? And she goes, Mommy, I never ever seen paintings that speak to you. And I thought, wow,
Wow.
I'll take that one. I'll
Absolutely.
take that. So that was a powerful moment. And that's what I want to see, is have a vehicle for those that come after us, our children, a vehicle for change for them.
No, that's a beautiful moment, absolutely. And we're going to see that art show now represented in the book, the documentary. We can look forward to that and get an opportunity to see what you're telling us about here today. Dan, thanks very much for joining us.
Yes, thank you, Kevin.
All right. Once again, we've been speaking with Dan Elliott.
Well, thanks again for tuning in for our show today. You know, all of the guests today are absolute trailblazers doing amazing things for our community. Thanks so much for tuning in. That's it for our show this time. We'll see you next time on Act 3.
Go right now.